This is just a quick one by Wall. So in the whole social justice, anti-social justice shit that goes on online, it seems that the anti-social justice community is constantly sinking to new lows again and again in terms of what they think is acceptable, like their standards are drifting ever downward.
You know, you're right, Tim. That anti-social justice warrior community constantly trying to deplatform anyone they disagree with, slandering their opponents repeatedly. Yeah, they're just awful. Actually, wait, that's you guys. Did you see Steve's recent video on Sargon of Akkad, which he says he's an emotionless psychopath? Did you see that one, mate? Because I've never seen someone on our side claim such utter tripe as that. Anyway, he's pissed off because Sargon spoke to MSG, and we're gonna check it out.
And everything they say or do can always be justified by saying, well, the social justice people did it first, or, fighting fire with fire. Which is a justification which can be used to always justify everything. If you just keep saying, my political opponents are worse and worse than me, there'll never be a point where you have to think about what you're doing yourself.
I actually think you're thinking a bit too highly of yourself, mate. Sargon speaking to MSG has nothing to do with you. It's not a way to get you guys back. He's just trying to address another issue that's around in the world. So, yeah, not everything is to do with the social justice warriors unless you're, say, trying to derail a conference, saying Bering advocates for rape. Yeah, so it's not always about you guys.
That's just the way that works. Anyways, I think I've developed a high tolerance based on low expectations for being disgusted by the anti-social justice community.
I'm sorry, Timmy boy, but that's my line. I have definitely acquired a high tolerance for just utter lies and slander and just hashtag not an argument from the social justice warrior community. Such as Steve saying that Sargon's an emotionless psychopath, in which Sargon has never shown any traits like that whatsoever. Okay? Your side is just completely awful, and yet you just slander everyone. And do you actually think you're a good person? Because I've decided the gloves are completely off. You're a despicable person, mate. Just because you think you are doing right in the world doesn't mean you actually are. You're actually, oppressing people, slandering people. It's awful. At least the Baron might falter. At least he might eventually slip up. But if you just oppress someone with your own moral conscience, then we're all screwed. Thank you very much for that.
Or certain people in it. It's not a monolith and not everybody is the same. But occasionally you see something that is so wrong and so morally bankrupt and so straight up sick that, it sort of takes your words away. And
yep, like Steve saying Sargon is an emotionless psychopath. I was actually shocked. You should go watch that video. I was not... I was pretty freaking annoyed. Because it's just such an awful thing to say to a person, especially right off from what happened in Las Vegas. Okay? And, man, this whole, I'm about to cry, but I'm not, and he's just such a bad, but it's just wrong. That's what you always say. It's just wrong. No, it's not. Just because you deem something is wrong doesn't actually make it wrong. Thank God you don't have any political or social power. You personally. Sadly, social justice warriors in general seem to have quite a degree of control of social structures, but you're just not a very good one.
you don't know what to do except look at it and be like, no. What am I talking about? Well, Sargon of Akkad on his Thinkery channel had Amos Yee. Now, Amos Yee was a Singaporean blogger who was jailed in Singapore by the authoritarian government there because he said something that was blaspheming or whatever it was. It was a while ago.
Yeah, aren't you glad you live in the West, Timmy boy? Other places aren't so nice. And it's just shocking that you can just slander the West repeatedly, like you do Sargon, Bering, anyone you disagree with, and yet you see all these atrocities happening in the world, and you're like, I don't care. Some guy got jailed because he spoke against a religion, but meh. Well, what's going on in the West? Oh my gosh, did he tell a sexist joke? Man, he should be fired immediately, right, Timmy boy?
That's wrong. Getting put in prison for, speaking out against your government. That's ridiculous. But going on at the same time, Amos Yee did a bunch of tweets saying that they should lower or erase or get rid of the age of consent for children, which essentially would make him a advocate for pedophilia slash child rape.
And you're still wondering why he wanted to speak to Amos Yee. Do you think maybe it's because he holds some views that are pretty abhorrent and he wants to find out exactly what they are, so maybe he can debunk them in the future? No, it's just he agrees with them, yeah. Sargon's basically the same as Amos Yee. He believes 5-year-olds can have sex with adults. Yeah, a terrible person. Such an emotionless psychopath.
I don't know, because you would have to figure out the line between advocating for something and it causing that thing to happen. You know, if children did get raped because of Amos Yee, oh my god, all my videos have been about...
Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't make a case for Amos Yee being responsible at all for a child being raped. Okay? It's just his own opinions. Like, that's just such a terrible thing to say. Or even imply. Be honest. You don't actually need to strawman Amos Yee. But that's the thing, you do anyway, and thus you look worse than him. Congratulations.
Why has it gotten so bad online? It just gets worse and worse every day, I swear to God. You figure out where his rhetoric meets the road. That's a nuanced question, and that's not really what I'm discussing in this conversation. I'm just saying, like, it became clear that, okay, Amos Yee has some fucked up ideas too, he's a creep. And all of the anti-feminist, social, whatever, other side sphere group, they made him into kind of the free speech poster boy, and then when all of his child rape comments came out, they were like, that's not good.
Yeah, it's like they're two separate issues. He was imprisoned for speaking out against religion, but he also holds some pretty abhorrent views about, you know, sex with children. Okay? I didn't even really know about this guy, but hey, I guess some people did, so that's fine. Yeah, it's like the two issues aren't related at all. And you're just an idiot, Mr. Muppet.
We're gonna distance ourselves just a little bit from this guy. And that's what ended up happening. And then you just ended up seeing a lot of people say, it sucks he got put in prison, but the guy is a creep. Which is true. Fast forward to the conference in Milwaukee, Mythicist Milwaukee. They invited Amos Yee, and instantly everybody was like, why are you inviting a child rape advocate? And they said, well, he has put aside those views and he's renounced them. And everyone was like, oh, has he? When did he renounce those views? And they had just assumed that he had. So they ended up asking him if he had, and lo and behold, he hasn't. So the Mythicist Milwaukee people were like, we're gonna disinvite Amos Yee for being a child rape advocate.
So they didn't know about him holding those beliefs, and when they found out that he held those beliefs, they disinvited him because they didn't want it to overshadow the conference. And you're pissed out for them because... Do you think through this before you... This is why you guys don't show the actual evidence, right? You just disproved it them yourself. They didn't know, now they knew, and they didn't want to overshadow their conference that was already there to pay $3,000 extra because of you lot. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. I don't know why you're annoyed about that.
Amos Yee did randomly show up at the conference, apparently, and they had him kicked out. While all of this was going on, apparently Sargon was like, you know, that's not fair to the poor child rape advocate. Child rape advocates, they're not like social justice warriors. They could have some valid ideas.
Well, guess what? In my Declan's Conference of Horrors, I would have social justice warriors on because I'd have white supremacists, black supremacists, Asian supremacists. I'd have MEC on to ask him because that means it gives me more tools in my arsenal to debunk all these issues. And I'm not afraid of these people's arguments because, yeah, I don't believe that any race is superior to anyone else. I'm not like, I'd have Scientologists on. I don't believe aliens invade bodies. So, mate, stop trying to ban people. It's just, stop being so terrified of these ideas. Most people aren't going to listen to them. They're just going to laugh because they're ridiculous. And yes, like social justice warrior ideology, you know, the whole prism, privilege, pyramid, whatever. It's all ridiculous, mate. You're like a Scientologist. Though the Mythcon guy said that Christy was worse than a Scientologist, and all you guys worse, so yeah, that's a banner that I'm just going to get on a t-shirt. Christy Winters, worse than a Scientologist.
That I could take on board, so I just want to sit the child rape advocate down and have a casual, nice conversation about his views on raping children. Not like he's one of those terrible social justice warriors. No, this is just an advocate of child rape. That's a good person to sit down and chat with, isn't it? So on his Thinkery channel, he has Amos Yee on. Now let me say this first. I listened to the entire thing, because often people in the comments are like, did you even watch the video? Did you listen to the podcast? Commenters, you don't need to say stuff like that anymore. If I am replying or responding to something on my YouTube channel, that means that I watched it or listened to it. I'm responding to it in this video, that means I listened to it.
Yeah, you can't really blame them when Steve does a video calling Sargon an emotionless psychopath after Mythcon, or all of Kevin Logan's debunking videos. Remember, he used to debunk Sargon of Akkad. It was a series of his, and then it stopped. And his only response was, "Yeah, I'll just give him an intellectual slap every once in a while." You guys just have no argument, okay? And yes, Sargon's had the alt-left, he's had the alt-right, he's had ContraPoints, he's had tons of people. He doesn't agree with all, it doesn't make any sense. How can it be alt-left and alt-right? Do you think through your arguments before you make videos? I'm guessing not.
And what did I hear? Well, the conversation started off with Amos and Sargon talking about Amos being deplatformed and his controversial views and, going to prison in Singapore, etc. Then the conversation came around to why Amos Yee was deplatformed.
But why were you deplatformed?
I was deplatformed because, people misrepresent my views and say that, because I had this opinion last year that I wanted to perhaps consider reducing the age of consent for children.
Right.
And
when we say children, I think we should be specific.
Exactly.
I think you mean teenagers, don't you?
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you mean 5-year-olds or something, do you? Or do you? You might. Tell me what your opinion is.
Now that's now you see, I think that 14, 13-year-olds, if they decide to have sex with adults, it should be fine.
So, Timmy boy, there was no social cue from Sargon whatsoever. Did you hear him? He's like, oh, do you? Tell me what you think. He's trying to find out what Amos Yee's argument actually is. He's not taking any social cues from Sargon. Sargon's just, the guy's obviously a bit awkward and he's trying to keep the conversation flowing. That's fine. He's doing a good job. So you get so annoyed about stuff that you just shouldn't. How is that? This is why social justice warriors never show clips, because when they do, I just sit back because they're debunking themselves, because they're so dishonest about it. You're an awful person, mate, because you really think you're like this brave knight fighting off the evil dragon, which in fact, you're just pretty much a communist, just disgusting. Basically, human garbage.
And many people have done it secretly, and that should be fine. Now, in terms of, and I think that's completely reasonable.
Sargon asked Amos Yee if 5-year-old children could consent to sex, or, the rules around having sex with 5-year-old children. Amos Yee could not answer that.
And I don't think you mean 5-year-olds or something, do you? Or do you? You might. Tell me what your opinion is.
Now that's now you see, I think
He couldn't answer about having sex with 5-year-olds.
He actually did answer directly after that, which he showed in the first clips. I would take that as him just being incredibly awkward. But even if he does believe that 5-year-olds should be able to have sex with adults, children, I haven't watched this one specifically because I'm not really that interested in Amos Yee, to be honest. But yeah, it's just, you're getting triggered at Sargon, which he's actually doing his job. He's trying to find out the guy's argument. It's not Sargon's fault this guy's awkward. Did you hear him? He's like, oh, or do you? Tell me what you think. He's asking this guy what he thinks. If the guy stammers around for a bit, it's not Sargon's fault.
And then Sargon started constructing this argument as to why Amos Yee might say around 13 to 14 is the age that he's talking about. No, Sargon, he could not answer whether people should have sex with 5-year-olds. And you allowed him to stumble around on that, you did not challenge him on it, and then you constructed this new argument that you handed to Amos Yee to make him look less bad.
Sargon didn't give him an argument at all. He was just trying to clarify what Amos Yee's position was. And it wasn't one of Sargon's confrontational debates. Obviously, Amos Yee is quite awkward. That's fine. People are, yeah. So it was more like he was just trying to work out what this guy thought. Maybe they've got a friendship. I don't know, but still, it wasn't. If Sargon's doing a confrontational one, he will, but he's just giving the guy a chance to answer in his own way. Once again, you're blaming Sargon for something that's not his fault, mate.
You are coaching someone who can't say you shouldn't have sex with 5-year-olds to look less bad.
I'm going to skip this. It's a lot of it you've already heard. There's a couple of bits. You've seen Tim's argument. I'm not Tim, if you claim I'm strawmanning you because I'm skipping a little bit, yeah, it's why I don't like to cut anything out. We're already at 15 minutes. So yeah, mate, this is just pretty pathetic, Tim.
Actively marketing this person, you're trying to rehabilitate them. Amos Yee is an advocate for raping 5-year-olds, and you have assisted him to not have to explain that, and not explain his actual point of view. You've gone and you've given him this different argument. Oh no, you mean 13 and 14? No, Amos struggled to say you shouldn't have sex with 5-year-olds.
This is like a broken record. And you, so what? You want Amos Yee just to be blacklisted from society? You don't want him rehabilitated? You don't want to see his ideas change on this subject? Is that what social justice warriors want? If you go against, like, I would much rather Sargon be able to convince him that that's wrong. Okay? But your way is what? Just to blacklist him from society? Banish him to the sewers? What? Do you see why you're an awful person, mate? I'm so sick of this. Oh, I'm so good. I'm just such a great guy. Look at my teary eyes. Sargon's just so terrible. No. You are actually an awful person. Go jump in a dumpster fire.
And you let him get away with this, and my skin was crawling. You have a child rape advocate on your channel, and rehabilitate him to make him look reasonable and him look acceptable. And why? And I just know that, like, no one is going to be able to call this out, but it was like wrong.
To you, and you're using rehabilitate incorrectly. Sargon should want to do that. And Sargon wasn't giving him an argument. He was just trying to find out what Amos Yee's argument was. Because there's been a lot of vitriol from your side. It's hard to discern what he actually believes. But yeah, you just strawman people. What the hell would you know?
On every goddamn level. And the conversation continued with Sargon doing everything he could to make Amos appear not as bad as he really is. Because, you know who Amos really is? He's a person who says you should rape 5-year-olds. That's it. That's who he is. That's the person that you had on your channel to rehabilitate. That you had on your channel to have a reasonable discussion about, which was not even about what he really thinks.
Once again, what do you want Sargon to do? Do you want to tar and feather Amos Yee and burn him as a witch? Is that what you want to do? I don't understand what your end goal here is. I guess it actually is. You just don't want anyone to speak to Amos Yee. Man, I've got to find the name of this person, but just quickly, let's just say it was a white supremacist in Australia. He was gaining a lot of following, and all the radio presenters wouldn't have him on, except for this one guy that finally had the guts to do it. By the end of that interview, he had lost his entire following, because he was actually completely insane. But, because they were pushing him underground, he became mysterious, the internet wasn't around, so, yeah. That one radio presenter completely destroyed that guy's entire following. But no, but what you would want is for him to go underground, and then him to gain a ton more followers, and yeah, this insane guy, his arguments, because the guy would paint him into a corner, and then bang, gone. But no, you're just an idiot, seriously. I'm so sick of these people deeming someone just, oh, he can just never be talked to, and then we all just have to agree, no, Tim, who put you as the king of the world? No one? Just go away.
And you said, this is your argument, because, you know, this is what you should say, because if you just go around saying rape kids, you know, people might not be happy with that. And I want to make you look good, Amos. I want to make you look reasonable. I want to help the child rape advocate. I don't know what the hell the guy is. You know, he's a person who has child rape advocates on just to bolster their image. And I guess that's how you fight the social justice warriors, right? Disgusting.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more, but I think I've proved my point, especially since that, just that looking up, you're so sorrowful, Sargon's just so terrible. You need to take acting lessons. Do you actually chuck teardrops, like, in your eyes? You know, like that solution to make it look really watery, or is that actual tears? It's just ridiculous. Tim. Okay? I wish you guys would just follow this train of logic. How can Sargon believe in the alt-left, the alt-right, Scientologists, child rape advocates? How can he believe in all this stuff? It's crazy. And why would he have such a massive following as well? It's why you're stuck at like 5K, man. It's because you don't ever address their arguments. And when you show clips, it disproves what you're saying. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Come chat to me on my Discord server. And are they ever going to stop being ridiculously hypocritical? You are the side that tried to deplatform Sargon, so yeah, I'm so sick of this blacklisting by the social justice warriors. But anyway, guys, documentary 2 is nearly done, and I'll catch you all later.